Hello and welcome to this special edition of In Focus. Today we are talking about Transform Africa Summit, the just concluded summit in Kigali that brought about 4,000 delegates to talk about boosting Africa's digital economy. And that did not just end at the convention center. We are trying to keep the conversation going on how do we engage as stakeholders across the board to ensure that Africa is moving in the right direction. Now, on this special edition of the In Focus, I have the pleasure to be joined by, first of all, Lucy Shawquick. I hope I pronounced that one. It's a very difficult name. Founder and chairperson of Career Women's Network Kigali. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I hope I pronounced that right.
Yes.
I tried.
That was good.
And of course, right after Lucy, we have Lassina Kone, Director General of Smart Africa Alliance. Thank you so much, Kone.
Thank you for having me.
Must have been a very busy week for you.
Yeah, very busy. I got, at least at the end of the day, I got some sleep last night. So
Nice, wonderful. Thank you so much for finding time to join us here on Rwanda Television to talk about what is so close to you. And of course, immediately after Lassina, we have Rosine Kamahoro, Recruitment Officer at Carnegie Mellon University, CMU, that is popularly known as CMU. Thank you so much for joining us, Rosine. I hope you are able to rest as well, because I was seeing you around the Transform Africa Summit. Quite an interesting one, interesting conversations for the last couple of days at the convention center. But I want to know, what were your main takeaways from the conversation over there? I'll start with you, Lucy.
Okay, so my main takeaways is that this digital transformation of Africa is not going to be very successful, or is not going to tap into its full potential if we leave women behind. And we heard some statistics. Also, the representative of UN Women, Fatou Lo, tweeted about it, with a gap in mobile ownership of 15%. And a gap of internet usage of 41% between men and women. So, and we haven't even spoken about the number of female graduates in STEM-related trades, and then the number of women who actually remain in these jobs. And if the future of work and the future of the world is going to be inclusive, we need women also designing these solutions, designing robots, designing artificial intelligence, and not just using them.
Sure. Yeah. Mr. Kone, I know your plate was full, but you probably had a couple of highlights and takeaways.
I think I totally agree with my colleague here. And on the top of that, we saw actually the past 2 or 3 days a trend. We were all talking about digital transformation, but you hear a lot about artificial intelligence. We actually put us to, first of all, we talk about Sofia. Yeah. You can see how things are really moving, what impact the artificial intelligence can bring into our life. And so there was a synergy among the speakers. And of course, the opening ceremony, we hear what our head of the state had to say. It was a very resolved vision to say, this is what we want to do. We need to head this way in Africa. And we want to make sure that transformation is actually inclusive. That's one of the reasons we had panels for women, and we had also youth involved in it, and we had the regulatories and so on and so forth. But it was quite interesting. We had about 4,200 delegates coming from over 107 countries. So we actually broke our own record. That's actually interesting. And we had about, of course, 3 head of the state, but we had 10 ministers delegated head of the state, which technically mean there were 10 head of the state in addition to the 3 head of the state that we have with our chairman, with about 21 ministers from 21 countries in Africa. So it was quite interesting.
Interesting.
Yes.
Rosine, I know education is very close to you, but quite a number of discussions over there. What remains as your takeaway from the conversations?
So at CMU, we had the opportunity to showcase our programs, and our faculty had the opportunity to talk about some of the innovative projects that they are working on right now. And especially our students had the opportunity to network, Some of the smart Africa scholars were actually working at the summit, which is a great opportunity for them. So for me, I think the main takeaway is the involvement of the youth in this digital economy. And I saw many of them, and they were very active and very dynamic. And for me, that's a really good positive sign, and especially from the education perspective. That's very promising.
Yes. This is the fifth. It was the fifth edition of Transform Africa Summit. Maybe Lucy, to begin with you, do you see the impact of such conversations in transforming Africa, that area of digital economy, or even boosting Africa's digital transformation?
Well, for example, what was noted at the closing is that now there was a very empowering session at the end of the summit with female ministers, and it was in the plenary session, and I think that sent out a very strong message, whereas before you would have things more like a separate track, but now it was more part of the main summit. So I think that's a good sign. I think the fact that Sofia came also kind of, although she is not human, and we had some debate about it because we ran this interesting poll if we should give Sofia a membership to the Career Women's Network, and in the end, our Twitter followers decided not to. So
that's not fair.
They voted 58% against, 38% in favor. But it got the discussion going about women in tech and women in this digital transformation in Africa. And also Sofia is known across the world, and to have her here.
And she's a Saudi citizen.
Yeah, that's why I thought maybe a nationality is like, that's been done already, but a membership to a professional women's network hasn't yet been provided to her. So that was the idea. But maybe we can work on our membership, and maybe next time we can propose her that.
I think you probably need to amend a law or the internal regulation for you.
But Mr. Kony, how do we move from such discussions to concrete action if we want to see concrete results?
Yeah, we actually signed. I probably forgot to mention that during the we signed about 8 MOU, which are really concrete actions to follow up. And majority of it, basically, they're all in the digital transformation. I'm talking about e-health. I'm talking about coaching startup. Like, for example, our partner CIB, not to make any publicity, which is the Commercial International Bank of Egypt, is willing to work with our startup company, take them to Egypt in the data mining. If you remember, it was also about the governance of the data. If we really want to be, if we want African data to stay in Africa. So we also has a very good commitment and engagement from Germany, and we are already starting the actions. Yesterday we had a meeting with the technical assistant. These are concrete results, and also from we had also from other partners with whom we actually sign an MOU in the artificial intelligence. I'm talking about Babylon Health, for example. We saw their presentation. We've been working for the past few months. So there are concrete action. On the top of that, of course, the World Bank was there. As you know, the World Bank program, which is a moonshot program, we're actually looking into that, how we can actually facilitate the adoption of that project, the program, I would say, into our country members. There are concrete action which came out of that.
One of the most concrete actions anyone would talk about is how do we transform our education system to fit into boosting Africa's digital economy. Yes. And if you look at the education system in Africa, it's just transitioning into a knowledge-based economy. Do you think we're ready now? And probably your comments will resonate well with what Rosine has to tell us.
Yes, I think we are ready.
Yeah.
I think we're going in the right direction. The government of Rwanda has partnered with Carnegie Mellon University to bring Carnegie Mellon University Africa here, and that's a really positive step. We have graduated 145 students as of now, and 75% of them are working in the continent. We have 14 of them who are pursuing PhDs, and those are really positive developments, because if they're pursuing PhDs, it means that African researchers are getting out innovations in the world. They're partnering with world-renowned researchers and at the forefront of technology. And also, Carnegie Mellon University being one of the top universities in computer science and artificial intelligence and technology, the fact that our graduates are 75% of them are working in the continent, creating business, working in financial services, working in government, all of that skills, the skills and the talent that they're bringing to the table is really important. So I think we're going in the right direction, but we have to still be very alert and make sure that we are inclusive. Like she was saying, that the digital gender gap is a real thing. Yeah. Currently, 30% of our students are female, and we would like to have 50%, but they don't apply in the same number as the brothers. But once they get admitted, they do as well. So it's not that they're not capable, but maybe they're not confident enough, or they're not as many in the STEM fields to start with. So really, the work has to be done at many different levels, but I am positive that we're going in the right direction.
But whose fault that women don't apply for whichever, whether jobs or school? Or,
well,
whose fault?
You want to take on that first? I have a different idea.
I mean, you don't know if our idea is different, maybe.
Yes, okay.
Is it the men's fault that women don't apply for?
No, I wouldn't say it's men's fault at all. I think it's the society as it is right now. The way women and boys and girls are raised is a bit different, and boys have more time to play. Play is a good way of kind of taking safe risks. Getting some, you get hurt, you stand up, you do it again. Huh? Girls are more involved in they're not expected to be dirty, to be loud. You want them to be seen, not heard. So that kind of brings, you could say we come into the schooling system with a disadvantage, or you could say the boys come there with an advantage because they've already had some more exposure to risk. But that's part of the education aspect of it. There is also, globally women are a bit more risk averse, but there are ways of dealing with that, and it's also good to have that diversity on your team. But knowing this, this is just one aspect. There are other aspects, like, first of all, what we do as a network, Career Women's Network Kigali, so we share information. We're often not so tapped into all the opportunities that are there. So that's one point. Secondly, we don't think we can do it. So we ourselves, because of that, maybe less exposure to risk, also gender stereotypes which are still there, we also maybe don't believe we can do it. And so we need to be a bit more encouraged, a bit more. We need, in IT, you have this term of hand-holding. I've worked in a ICT environment in Europe before I came to Africa, and sometimes you have to hand-hold a customer through some changes, like going to a new release or upgrading the software or whatever. So when you want to attract women, it's not enough to say on the job vacancy, women are encouraged to apply. You actually have to reach out to them and find them where they are and encourage them to apply. So we had, I can maybe mention an example, we share job information between us on the network, and we had a really interesting job, and this lady was excited, and then she started to doubt herself, and she said, oh, can I do this? And the other ladies, apply! Go for it. But it was nice to see how they're actually encouraging each other. So we have that maybe with ourselves, but then if you would be asking me for advice, I would tell you, no, you have to do it. So that we have that aspect of kind of encouraging each other, which is also very powerful in helping each other up.
So treating women dearly is going to be a challenge as well. It is supposed to be an opportunity. Because she's saying girls are not allowed to go out, take risks. So because we treat them, the society probably treats them dearly of sort.
Yeah, that is something that we as women also have to look at, because I noticed, like with my own daughter and my own son, although I know all of this, still, if my son falls from his bike or from a tree, I'm like, oh, it's a boy.
It's a boy.
Yes.
He'll survive.
He'll survive. And so one day we were in a place and my daughter was going down this hill on this bicycle, and each time the first time she veered to the left and she fell. And I was like, oh, I almost had a heart attack. And so I was like, oh my God. So I was almost about to say, like, don't do that again. And then I caught myself. I said, no, that's not the right thing. Because what am I teaching her? I'm telling her not to take risk. I'm telling her that she's fragile, and if she falls, she might break something. So I decided to walk up the hill and kind of coach her through the thing. So I was holding the bike, and the first time, the second time I let her go herself. I said, try to go straight. Yeah. And then she fell like 3 more times, which was painful to see. And I told her, go on. And the 4th time, she did it. And she was very proud of herself.
So that's how the society should be, treat women, give them chances to try
It's difficult, but it's that we need these safe spaces to take like small risks. And with that, we expand that exposure to risk and that confidence that we can handle it. And that's what we're also, in our network, we get opportunities to speak, to moderate, and there's no one kind of laughing at you. So it's a kind of a safe environment to take some more risks.
How do you bring in women?
The flip side of that, it's true. Stereotyping when boys and girls are growing up, boys like to play games, TV games with a rough game, you know what I mean? And women tends to be looking at the Barbies and stuff like that. But the flip side of this, what the governments should do to actually compensate that, it is to give them hope. Why hope? You see, the hope is promoting women in high-tech job. Because I can speak for Africa. Most of the time, countries where you see famous people look at their role models, if they are soccer player or football player, everybody wants to be a football player. If they are a big singer in those countries, they all want to be big singers. So they learn by looking at the role model. So if the government start promoting gender in the governments, in high-tech position, CEO positions, in ICT, artificial intelligence, then suddenly you will see the girls, as they're growing up, oh, you know, that CEO, she's a woman, so I can be that too. Because they learn by that. We all, like, when we were all growing, we had a role model who we want to be. Oh, I want to be like this person. So that's very important on a high level. The second thing, we really need in Africa a profound, or I said a rational or fundamental change in our education system to adopt for the future. You see how fast the technology is moving. We have to be, I'm talking about the models such as STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, to be more pragmatic. To be more pragmatic, to be more straight. We had to do this in primary school, secondary school, even the university. But that's not enough. Because, you see, the top layers of the professional women, when you start promoting them, because you want the younger generation to look them as a role model, you engage those women in networking, exactly, in pulling the rest. You engage them in the community services, in speaking opportunity, in participating in the different events. Now you will be left with what I call the victims of the ICT gap. Well, the victims of people who they were not tech savvy, technology is moving, is widening the gap. Then we need to focus on vocational training in digital economy or digital transformation. Because what you do, then you're giving again a hope of the group of women who were not able to get into digital economy, education as such, and you train the vocational training for them to be able to pick up. And that way, you actually will cover all your layers. It's very important.
It is. Quite a number of areas that you touched. Education, mindset, and a bit of political will there.
Yes.
But which one has held Africa? Rosine?
That's a difficult question.
It's
a difficult question, especially since Africa is not one country.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes people overgeneralize, and I think it's wrong. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, I think it's a mix of all the three.
Yeah.
Because you need those three components to be going in the right direction for things to happen, right? So you need, like she said, Lucy, you need for parents to be enabling, to be distributing the tasks at home and the chores equally, to be pushing both girls and boys to not give up if they fall, or if they were starting a biology class and they feel like it's too hard and the girl is let go and the guy is pushed. We also need the political space to be enabling. Like what we're doing in Rwanda is amazing. When you see that the top leadership of the Ministry of ICT is female, that's representation, like you were saying.
Absolutely.
And that's a very, very powerful tool. So even us, when we're trying to recruit more girls into our program, more women, we show what our current students and alumni are doing. And when they see that it's possible, that young women are creating their own businesses, that they're doing amazing internships in very big institutions, and they're like, that sparks a light that, okay, so if she did it, I can do it. We went to the same school, we look like we come from the same background, so why not me? And the political will has to be there, because as governments need to create the space for startups to thrive, for the education system to be funded, so that when you have a computer or an IT-related, let's say, field in secondary school, that they have labs, that they have access to computers, that you're not studying about computers, writing in your notebook, that you actually know what a computer is in practice. And we also need the civil society to be involved. You can't only have schools be involved in educating young people. We need programs like the few programs I've been seeing around, like the We Code programs or the drone technology programs that just take 2 months to teach a young person how to code a drone or how to build a telecom tower or something like that. And those are really important because they spark passion and open up possibilities in their minds. So I think it's a holistic solution that is needed.
Yeah. The reason why I brought in the political will is because I know some countries are yet to join Transform Africa Alliance.
Yes.
I think,
of course, we had Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone has joined Smart Africa Alliance. And all we're talking to Ethiopia, and they're very advanced to join the alliance.
And how many will be there in total?
We right now we are with the 24 countries, we're 600 million.
So what the rest of the 20 plus?
That's true, but with the 24 million, in fact, with the our target is about a year end. That is the target, and we're working hard on it by a year end to reach at least about 900 million out of 1.2, which is quite representative. Even with the 600 million, 24 countries, 600 million is quite representative. But the goal is not that; is to get everyone involved.
They're taking long to get involved. One is wondering why. I mean, it's something that is pushing Africa into the right direction.
It is good that actually you brought that question. You see, I know we talk about the female implication, digital economy. African country, 54 or 55 country, the importance of ICT, some countries do not see. They look at the digital economy as one sector among other sectors. However, the digital economy, it is not one sector, it is the sector, which link all of them together. So that awareness, at the government level also has to come. That's how you see disparity, or you see, for example, the different maturity level of digital economy from the western part of Africa to eastern part of Africa. You see how Kenya is very well engaged. You see how Rwanda is engaged, how South Africa is engaged. You go to other countries where the priority is different. You see, so that's why you see that we're calling them. It's actually it will take time. However, we will all get there because it's also awareness to know. Don't look at ICT or digital economy. It is not about telephony licenses, mobile telephony No, it is not about that. It is the fundamental digital transformation of our social economic layer. That's why also we have a lot of work to do on that. So as people coming on board with awareness, then they will start joining. And the same way, they will also learn from their peers. People will look at Kenya, oh, I want my country to be like Kenya. Exactly. I want my country to be... Exactly. Yeah.
Digital economy is quite a new economy in Africa, a new sector growing. How do we make sure that women and girls are at the forefront of driving this transformation?
So I think a very good point was mentioned, the role models. And I think in that sense, Rwanda is really far. And we have very good experiences to share. We had some discussion about it at Transform Africa, which made you notice us. It was about, so we have these companies, they have female CEOs, but still women are not applying, and they're also not applying for like internal promotions. So they get stuck at this entry level. And so role models is important, but you need them at different levels, and they have to be relatable. So if you're looking to, as you said, like for other African countries, Kenya is a better role model than the US.
Yes.
So for someone who is up country, you need to find a role model that they can relate to. So you have role models at each level, and we need to empower women to. We're always looking upward, but we also need to look backward. There are people looking at us for reference. And so as we all, and that's sometimes a bit of the problem of women in the C-suite, they're still struggling. They're fighting to keep their seat at the table. They're often the only person in the boardroom. And so they believe, they think it's important, but sometimes they wait until they're comfortable before uplifting others. And so this aspect of female collaboration, and also in STEM. That's why Miss Geek Africa, Girls in ICT, women, tech women, and so on. All these initiatives are very important. And the nice thing about our network is that we're very broad. So we have members from all these organizations. Among us, we have programmers, we have donors, we have corporates. So the fact that you put everyone together, and there I see real opportunity in digital transformation, because what it is doing, it's making Africa smaller.
Exactly.
And it's connecting people across borders. So not only will it unlock like economic opportunities, but also opportunities for more peace and stability. Because once you connect with people miles across the continent, on the other side of the continent, you start to relate to each other.
Absolutely.
You start to see that you have more in common than that divides you. So I think the digital transformation is very important, and as women we're really good at connecting at the social aspects. We're actually good at networking. We don't think we are, because we're sometimes socially confined to, it's not like well seen for us to go to a bar after work, so we have to find some other solutions to network. And there again, the digital economy provides absolutely opportunities, like the way we communicate and have so much impact on people's lives is through social media. So, and I heard from Facebook that there is a social virtual reality coming up. I mean, the impact, the possibilities of that are just amazing. That would mean we could have a networking event with women from across the continent and still be at home with the kids, for example. I'm not saying we have to stay at home with the kids, but just an example.
When one talks about transforming Africa, the question that comes into one's mind is the brain drain that we've seen over the years. Probably some African governments send the best students abroad to study, and they end up staying there, working in big companies in America or Europe or whatever. How do we address that? Probably I'll start with you, Rosen.
So what we are doing at Carnegie Mellon University is bringing, the government of Rwanda partnered with Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh to bring Carnegie Mellon University Africa. And it's in Rwanda. So right now we have 15 different nationalities that are represented, and those are young African young African scientists who are studying in Rwanda, getting to know Rwanda, and some are starting their companies in Rwanda. So I think it's, like I said, CMU, the current graduates, 75% are working in Africa. But that is because they have the opportunities to stay in Africa, because they were able to create their companies, because companies were willing to hire them and do research with them. So in our particular case, what we do is that we make sure that while the students are still in school, we provide contact with industry. So on average, we make sure that they have around 900 hours of contact with industry while still at school, so that when they transition, it's not a foreign country for them. They've been working with those companies on projects, they've been interning with them for like 3 months, and it's very structured in a way that we make sure that you don't just go and sit and, you know, browse the internet for 3 months. No, it's actually real projects that have to have real impact. So by the time they leave school, they have had interaction with the industry and they know exactly what they want to do once they get out. And we also make sure that we keep building partnerships with many different companies, so that we always have a pipeline for jobs and opportunities, and we share with our alumni. So all of that has to be very intentional, because once they're outside in the market and you forget about them, it's easy for them to apply to jobs in Dubai or the US, and you lose them, because they could be working, let's say, at Beka and have a small startup on the side, and once they're ready, leave Beka and go to the startup. It's just an example. But if you have them outside, then they're contributing all of that talent and knowledge and research to which is not a bad thing, to go and learn from other people, but you always have to have your continent in mind and plan for one day to come back and have all of that knowledge and networks and partners that you've built over the years impact your place of birth.
How do we make sure that the best minds stay?
No, you see, it's actually a very interesting question, because we talked about relating to your role model. It is happening even in our generations, because, you know, myself, after spending close to 20 years in the States working there and so on and so forth, then my friends and that I met in the UK or in the US when I was going to school. Then when I came back in 2011 to Africa for the first time to work in Africa, then suddenly, oh, it is possible. So you're really integrating yourself. So I was able, for the past 8-9 years, I was able to bring back to Africa about 8 people.
That's amazing.
So you see, it's relating to role models. So you said, if I did it, it means they can do it. Because it's very important, because someone has to be, because we all, even, I didn't look at the role model, but I said, you know what, I need to do something where I can make an impact. And the only place I can make an impact right now, this is where I come from, which is Africa. So.
Yeah, if I might add to that, like a lot of our members and a lot of them who get like senior roles are actually returnees from the diaspora. And Rwanda has actually this amazing now attraction, so that we get actually returnees from other countries as well. And the great thing about it, actually, you should encourage people. This might be provocative, but I think going abroad is the best thing to get out of your comfort zone and to learn. And let them go to Google and Facebook and all these great companies. Let them learn and come back. And don't be scared. Their heart is still here. I've seen, like, I've had. My husband is from the Burundian diaspora in the Netherlands. That's where we met. But his heart never quit Africa. And I think we're so afraid of this migration issues and so on. But I think in the end, you know, if you try to stop it, people will be more interested in
living. Yes, absolutely.
If you say let them go and know that when you come back, you can become minister of ICT, for example.
Absolutely.
That's That's an amazing opportunity that a lot of people in the West actually don't have. So,
if I might add, I think Africa should be looking at the Asian countries like Korea and China. They sent massive number of people outside to go and learn, but with the intention and giving them very clear directions that you're going to learn this particular field, this particular technology, and this is exactly what we need. And once they came back, they transformed their economies and all these different sectors. So I think African countries have to be very intentional about their diaspora, about the kids they're sending to study abroad, and giving them a mission as to what you're going to study and exactly how we need you to implement it here, so that they have that at the back of their mind throughout their careers outside. I think that's very important.
True. Digital literacy. Literacy levels in Africa, again, this goes to our education system.
Yes.
It's not the best. Of course, 60%, one is going to argue that 60% are the young people who have either been in school or in school, but there's also a certain percentage that, not well conversant with digital literacy. How do we make sure that they're included in this digital transformation?
They're included?
Yeah. The inclusiveness of.
You see, as I said, it's a different dimensions, because that's what I was saying. I think I was in one of the panel. A technology that's going to help Africa more than any other country, any other continent.
Yeah.
It is artificial intelligence, and I will tell you, it's amazing why, because the artificial intelligence is a technology which actually will shrink the gap between uneducated person and educated person digitally, because it's a machine language. Today you have Alexa at home, you have a Siri at home, you speak in English. Alexa will answer, Siri will answer. How about artificial intelligence where you can speak in a native language of Africa and the action is done? And that is what is happening right now. That's the reason artificial intelligence, because, look, we're talking about digital transformation. We have to be very careful. Any new technology that we introduce into the society for adoption, if it has a learning curve, it is actually widening the gap. It is not closing the gap. So we have to be very careful how to introduce a technology. Artificial intelligence, like we've seen in the one of our partners that we signed with Babylon Health, I suggest that you go to their website.
Sure.
Your mother or your grandmother, she's in a village, she has a smartphone. She has a smartphone. From her phone, it's the doctor. I have a headache. The cell phone will ask you, where do you have a headache? On the left or on the right? You mention it. Pinpointing, doing basically a basic triage to actually all the way to the pinpoint, what's the actual problem before actually the doctor gets there.
Yeah.
That is a huge jump. It's not only leapfrogging. So that someone with the, imagine someone talking to that smartphone in the native African language. Basically, you are allowing someone who's not educated to use a technology to gain the same benefit like someone who is digitally savvy. It's amazing.
Quite impressive.
Yes.
And then the challenges with cybersecurity, digital transformation, some level, one would say.
They are closely tied together. Because why cybersecurity? Because, look, digital transformation, it is a process through which companies or countries or continents go through in order to adopt really the use of ICT. What does it mean in the natural language? It means anything we are doing traditionally, conventionally, we are taking it digitally. But don't forget, cybersecurity, cyber safety for our kids.
Yeah.
It means we need to really have, none of these can be really efficient if we do not have law governing our data. It is important. We have to have, because you're giving them connectivity, they're adopting digital transformation, but you need to have law governing the data, cybersecurity, protection of personal privacy. These are all important. But these are policies. Because it's only when Africa actually, it's only when we have a data privacy, data governance rule, then we will be able to attract a lot of investors to come and say, oh, you will see the GAFAM. Oh, before I do have Facebook users or Twitter users, but you know what? I want to move my service to Africa because I know not only connectivity is there, data privacy is there, and so on and so forth. It is a very, very important pillar.
Rozin, how do we improve our digital literacy on the continent?
How do
we improve,
digital literacy?
spur our digital literacy on this continent?
Education, once again.
Yeah.
Education at all levels and the dissemination of technology. So making sure that even those in the village who are not in school still have access to technology. So it's for our experts to develop technology that is simple to use, that is accessible, that is across platforms. It's about us who have more digital knowledge to share. It's about being inclusive, I think.
You have some comments about improving digital literacy? Before, probably I will bring in Mr. Kone to give us, to reveal some of the things we should expect in the next Transform Africa Summit. But yeah, yours.
Yeah, so I would like to say something about the enormous equalizing power of technology. Through social media, everyone now has a voice. So it's very important that we work on that access to phones and of internet connectivity. But once it's there, and once it's especially there in certain languages that people actually speak, it's important to, that way people have a voice and they can share their message, and we can see more diverse voices. For now, we're seeing a lot of content from the US. We're seeing stock photos. For our flyers, I want pictures that women can relate to. We're in Africa. I want African career women on our flyers, and it's so hard to find them in the, in the stock photo databases. Or you'll find that the people who are now making noise on LinkedIn, influencing, doing like, they already have like these live broadcasts and so on. They're all from the US, so there's still an unequal distribution of voice, of message, of representation in the digital sphere. But if we tackle those issues, I think that would really give Africa a lot of traction. Sure. And Africa has this advantage when it comes to like connection, networking, human relations. I think you're natural networkers.
Yeah. Well, tell me, you can see that. Just let your mother or your grandmother call you from the village. Yeah. In the US. Hi, how are you? Did you see Brian yesterday? You just straight question. Grandmother, she will ask you, how are you? How's your wife? How are the kids? How's your cousin? How's your neighbor? It's different. It's a different dynamic.
Interesting. You brought in something quite interesting, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
It's a new dimension of the way of doing things in Africa.
Yes.
How do we even trust the artificial intelligence? I mean, I'm giving you an example. Yesterday, the Minister of ICT, not the minister, but I think she was the Master of Ceremonies, asked who is afraid of Sofia. And then a bunch of people put up their hand. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I saw that. Yeah. First of all, I don't think it's fair that Sofia did not get the membership.
Maybe we can fix that.
I don't think, because she came she's a Saudi citizen. Yeah. She came all the way to Rwanda. I think at least we should have been welcoming her, taking her,
around.
Exactly. Then when the MC asked who's afraid of Sofia, then they all well, it's because that is again the interface between the machine and the human.
Yeah.
As the technology is advancing, I think we should, if I can say, humanize it more. You see, because still, you can see the difference. If you see her arms, then you can see she's a robot. Mm-hmm. But when you see the face, you see the tissues of human.
Yeah.
So you're not actually afraid to look at the face for the fact that her arm were actually rubber. Then people say, oh, I'm actually scared. So to answer to your question again, what you said for the next transform will be in Guinea, Republic of Guinea, in Conakry. And what's going to happen there? I think we should leave it as a surprise.
President, this could be your closing remarks. How do we ensure that digital transformation in Africa is fast and sustainable and inclusive?
So I think for that to happen, all parties need to be involved. The governments, the private sector, the education field, of course, but collaborations need to happen for research to be disseminated into industry so that it can be disseminated to the population. We need to have partners like Smart Africa that is contributing to financing students to go through our programs. We need parents to let everybody explore their passions and not have some feel that they're more capable or less capable than others. And we need our governments to provide the space for startups to thrive, for funding for schools, for basically everybody to be able to explore their strength, and so that we can grow. And we also need the regulatory space to be open and to be adaptive to changing technologies.
Talking about regulations, how do you benefit from the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement to push for transformation, the digital transformation in Africa?
Well, you can see that naturally the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Agreement, is a KPI of the single market that we're trying to put together. Because if we are able to actually transform Africa into a single digital market, with the CFTA will be much easier. When we see CFTA happening continental-wise in terms of electronic commerce and so on and so forth, it means we have succeeded partly in actually implementing that.
Is it possible? Is there a possibility of borderless digital market in this country?
It is, of course. It is, of course. It is a big possibility, but you're not going to see every country coming at the same speed. Do not expect that.
That's your closing remarks.
That is because you see, people have a different priority. You see, it's just like globalization back in the 90s. Some countries were resisting. You know what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, we got there. I think we know at the end, at least we have a common goal. How do we get there is different. Some people will get there faster. Some people will, some people will get there slower. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is that we have no choice. If we want to face this fourth industrial revolution, we have to come together as a single market. It's a 1.2 billion population. Thank you.
Thanks. How do we make sure that digital economy in Africa is inclusive and fast?
I think we should stop fearing change and innovation and technology. I think it's not for women. It is for us, and actually we can tap into the opportunities and the benefits it gives for women to actually go further and faster together and to come together and have used the power of numbers. We're very many in this world, and yet somehow we haven't tapped into that advantage as much. And technology is absolutely an opportunity for women as well as men.
Lucy, thank you so much for your time here. And Mr. Connie,
thank you for having me.
I know, are you going to be playing golf?
Well, yes, I'm going to be there assisting other people, but
Thank you so much, Roseanne. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ronald Television. And that brings us to the end of our discussion here. Thank you so much for watching. Again, it doesn't just end here. We need to keep on the conversation going. And how do we collectively boost Africa's digital economy? I leave it to you. My name is Athan Tashobya. Have a good one.